Namaste and welcome to the Vedanta Society of Greater Houston and our Sunday morning service. I'll begin as always with a chant. Om yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedangscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadevam atma buddhi prakasham mumukshur vai sharanamaham prapadye. We who seek liberation take refuge in that infinite light which illuminates the hearts of all beings, who is the source of the Creator himself, and who is the source of infinite knowledge, known as Veda. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Om peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So last Sunday, I took the hymn to Dakshinamurti, the Dakshinamurti Stotra, as the topic for the talk, and only got through the first 4 verses. And then at the end of the talk, I announced that I was planning this week, this Sunday, today, to speak about Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. But some people asked that I please finish the Dakshinamurti Stotra, and I thought that that is the wise thing to do, because I felt unfulfilled by not completing it, and also some of you who were interested in the Stotra felt the same. My original idea of this series of small Vedantic texts was on a particular Sunday, like one Sunday a month or every so often, to take a particular small text and just to treat it summarily, to summarize the text, its major contents. But I thought that this particular Stotra was so small, only 10 verses, that I could cover it in one Sunday. But we only got through 4 verses because they are very deep. And also, even on at other times when I took up a small text, I found that one Sunday was not enough to complete even the smallest of them. So I'm not going to restrict myself anymore to just a single Sunday for a small Vedantic text. So once in a while, we'll continue this series, taking up a small text, but I will treat it in a bit more depth. Even if I can't treat the whole text, I will use as much time as is necessary to give a comprehensive view of the text. So this can be considered part 2 of the talk on the hymn to Dakshinamurti, or Dakshinamurti Stotra. So just to catch us up, for those who were not here for the first lecture, let me first say that this is, Dakshinamurti means the one who is facing south. And so there's a story, ancient story, that sages, including Sanaka, the son of Brahma himself, the creator himself, and other great sages, came to Shiva looking for wisdom, went to Mount Kailas and came to Shiva and asked him for the knowledge of Brahman. And so Shiva was sitting on Mount Kailas facing south, and he began to teach. And there's another story that it was sage Markandeya, who was a great sage in the line of Bhrigu, the Bhargava line, who the sages came to, and he taught them about Dakshinamurti and manifested Dakshinamurti. But I think the more prominent story is that the sages went to Mount Kailas, to Shiva, and Shiva himself. And Shiva taught them with the Jnana Mudra. This is called the Chin Mudra or the Jnana Mudra. Chin Mudra meaning the hand gesture of consciousness, or Jnana Mudra, the hand gesture of knowledge. And so Shiva teaches them in this gesture, which is symbolic. The thumb represents the Supreme Self, the Paramatman. The index finger represents the Jivatman. And so the Jivatman joined with the Paramatman in oneness, in total realization of oneness, by leaving the 3 gunas. sattva, rajas, and tamas, or also the waking, dream, and deep sleep state, or the three kleshas, but usually the three gunas. So by the jiva, by dissociating itself, by transcending the three gunas, joins to the Supreme Self. And so that is the knowledge, the mudra of knowledge. And it's a mudra which is also used in meditation, when it's usually called the chin mudra, when the hand is held palms up like this, the two hands in the same mudra for meditation. So I'll just go quickly, not explaining, but just quickly over the first 4 verses, which we did last time, or not explaining much. The first verse says, "He who experiences at the time of realization his own immutable self, in which self alone plays the universe of names and forms, like a city seen in a mirror, due to the Maya power, as though produced outside as in a dream. To him, to that divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration." So again, it requires at least a little expansion, and that is, the idea is that Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantaragatam. He who sees the whole universe as though in a dream, we see the world of the dream outside of ourselves. But on waking, we found that the dream world was inside of ourselves. And so he who sees the world outside as though seeing a city in a mirror, that actually is within the mirror, but it looks like it's a vast city. And so this whole world is seen inside of oneself, but it seems to be projected outside. To the one who sees that, and to the one who knows that this whole universe is within himself and only appears to be extended in space. To that Dakshinamurti, I offer this salutation. So Dakshinamurti here is it's a Sri Guru Murtaye, Sri Dakshinamurtaye, to the embodiment of the Guru, who is Dakshinamurti, this south-facing image of Shiva. So again, that's full of profound meaning, but I'm not going to go over that. That was last time. This is just to catch us up. The second verse says, "He who like a magician," again, they use the term juggler, which is a British and therefore an Indian term, but we would say magician. "He who like a magician or a great yogi with yogic powers unrolls this universe just out of his own free will, the universe which before creation remained unmanifest, like the future tree in a seed, and has later on projected himself out to be the world of endless variety, due to the delusory play of time and space, both the products of Maya. To him, to that divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, I make this prostration." So again, he to Shiva, to Dakshinamurti, who expands this great universe, who unrolls it, as I say, like a great magician, producing this universe out of nothing, created by the power of Maya, due to the play of time and space. That is, this whole universe is conditioned by time and space. Everything within the universe, physical and mental. We can't understand anything, we can't perceive anything except within time and space. Physical time and space, or mental time and space. So to that Dakshinamurti, who is the image of the Guru, who has this knowledge, and who is the author, who is the one behind Maya, out of whom, through the power of Maya, this whole universe is projected. So salutation to him. And then verse 3 says, "This great existence that expresses through and illuminates all names and forms is the infinite Lord Sri Dakshinamurti, and to him this salutation. The objects of the world have no existence of their own." Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the commentary. That's why it wasn't making sense. Making sense in the terms of the verse. "He whose manifestations, which are themselves nothing but the reality, appear as the objects of the world." So he whose manifestations, which are themselves nothing but the reality, that is the divine itself, so whose manifestations come out of that divine reality and therefore are nothing but the divine reality itself, appear as objects of the world. This is nothing but manifestations of that Shiva, that divine consciousness, but appearing as objects of the world. "He who imparts to those who have surrendered to him direct enlightenment, through the Vedic commandment, thou art that. So those who have surrendered to him, to that Guru Dakshinamurti, he initiates them in the knowledge Tattvamasi, thou art that. Thou the individual art that infinite reality. And after the direct experience of which there is no more any return to the ocean of worldly existence. So after we have known that, then there's no more return here to this world of sorrow. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. And then the fourth, which was a very beautiful verse, Nana Chidra Ghato Darastita Mohadipa Prabha Bhaswaram Jnanam Yasyatu Chakshurali Karana Dwara Bahispandate. That is, that he whose intelligence flashes out, well, let me just explain it. The image is given of an urn, a clay urn with holes in it. That is the holes of the senses. The urn is this body. And the senses are the holes in the body, that is, through which knowledge of the outside world comes. So within the heart of that urn, there is a light, the light of consciousness. And that light of consciousness shines out through these holes of the senses and illuminates the world around us. Janamiti tameva bhantamanubhatye tat samastam jagat. That light burning, that light of consciousness burning, then janami, I know. That sense that I know, I see, I experience, that is that light shining. So as I explained last time, in Vedanta, the important part of knowledge, according to Vedanta, is the experience of knowing, not the thing known, but the fact of knowing itself. That is what is important, because that happens in consciousness. And that every act of knowing is a non-dualistic experience, as Shankaracharya says in the Upadesha Sahasri. That every act of knowledge is an awareness of the self, but we don't see it because we're blinded by the objects. And so in the West, when we talk about knowledge, we mean things that are known, stuff that can be put in a database, stuff that can be put in an encyclopedia, stuff that can be stored in a library, information. But in Vedanta, knowledge means the act of knowledge itself. I know, janami. I know. That is what is important. And so the translation here is, he whose intelligence flashes outside through the eyes and other sense organs, just like the bright light of a great lamp placed in a jar having many holes, and after whose shining this whole universe of objects shines. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, we make this prostration. So that's the point we came to last time. As I said last time, I ended on the note that this, though I had already run out of time, that this fourth verse is a very beautiful verse for meditation. That is, to take this metaphor or this simile, that the body is like an urn, and the senses are like holes in the urn, and the light within shines out and illuminates the universe. Then we come to verse 5. One other thing before I start now, I'll say I'm using the translation of Swami Chinmayananda of the Chinmay Mission, a great man of recent times, whom I had the pleasure of meeting and knowing. I feel sure after studying this book, because he was a master of Sanskrit and a master of the scriptures, that this must have been made from talks of his, because the translation is not that good and not that accurate. So I've decided, after going through this, that there's room for another translation, so I've started that now. But I don't have it with me. I've just got one verse done so far. I just started it this morning, actually. This morning I decided, okay, this needs retranslating, so I'll do it. But I will work with what we've got here now, because I don't have a running translation with me. So the first verse that we did, it talks about the truth of the universe and the Jiva, that this whole universe appears inside of us. It's talking about Shiva, but as I said last time, one of the beauties of this stotra, besides the language and the images and the deep, profound truth, is the play between the individual and the divine, because the verses can be interpreted as God, Ishvara, Shiva as God, as the Lord of the universe, but also as your own self, because in Advaita Vedanta there's not the distinction between the individual and the divine as there is in dualistic systems. And so you can understand this as a devotional text addressing the glories of Shiva, or as an Advaitic exposition of the nature of my own self, that which I really am. And so it's Shiva who sees this whole universe within himself, though it seems to be projected outside. But that's the truth of ourself. The second verse deals with the creation of the universe, how the perception of the universe came about through Maya. The third verse talks about creation and liberation, liberation from samsara. The fourth verse, which we just saw briefly, deals with the nature of perception and how it is that I know, this image of the urn with the holes in it, and how I know the universe. So now verse 5 comes to the work of the Guru, the work of the Guru. So verse 5 says, Deham pranam apindriyanyapi chalam buddhim cha shunyam viduhu stri balam dhajadopamastvhamiti bhranta bhrisham vadinaha maya shakti vilasa kalpita moha vyamoha samharine tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So, starting at the bottom, as we often do with the Sanskrit when working into English, Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. That's the refrain in all of the verses except for the 10th, which is separate. But the 9 instructional verses all deal with this. So, all say this. So to that image of the Guru, who is Dakshinamurti, I offer this prostration, or we offer this prostration. So this verse says that the body, the vital force, also the sense organs, the changing buddhi or higher mind, but here buddhi indicates all parts of the mind. They use the term buddhi because it fits the meter, the chandas, but it's used in place of the mind itself. So the body, the prana, the vital force, the sense organs, the mind, and the void. The void means that which we experience in deep sleep. So in the waking state and dream state, we experience the body and the sense organs. Dream state, not this body, but a dream body, and the sense organs are active in the dream state, and the mind. And in deep sleep state, we experience the void. That is, I don't know anything. I didn't know anything. I slept so wonderfully. I was completely gone. I didn't know anything. So the shunyam. So these experiences of the body, of the senses, of the prana, of the mind, of the void, ignorant people say, I am this. This is me. And he says something here which is not sayable in modern times because of modern good sensibilities. And that is, I'll say what it is. It's just that I will explain what he means by it. He says that like women, children, the blind, idiots, etc., consider the as they think. So he's talking about those with undeveloped minds. So here, of course, he's mentioning women, which is highly improper now. But at one time, it was understood that at that time, and again, I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying that it's right. But at that time, in ancient times, in societies around the world, women were confined to the home. They were to take care of the children. They were to do the cooking. They were to take care of the house, all of the domestic work. And so that was their field. In the Vedic times, women had been able to study the Vedas. They had been able to engage in philosophical arguments with other sages. They themselves were sages. But in time, as happened around the world, patriarchy became ascendant, and women were relegated to the house, and they were to take care of children, take care of so many details. So what Shankaracharya means here by saying women and fools and so forth, he's talking about women because at that time, women were not educated, nor were they allowed to engage in scriptural study and to the attainment of Brahman. They could be devotional, they could sing devotional songs, but the knowledge of Brahman, that was not proper for women, it was thought at that time. Again, in Vedic times it was proper, and now again it's recognized that this was a fact of society which we must grow out of. But again, the meaning is that those who were concerned with the ordinary things of life, because at that time that's what women had to be, not because they weren't capable of realizing the highest and participating in as much intellectual work as any man, but society didn't allow that. And so here women, the word woman represents those whose minds are completely occupied with ordinary affairs of life, just the day-to-day details of life. And so women, children, whose minds are not yet developed. So he's saying that people who are like women in this understanding, that women are just concerned with domestic things and don't have any bigger view of life than just the domestic details. So people, we would say, people whose minds are occupied just with the domestic ordinary details, or people who have a childish view of the world, that this world is such a beautiful garden created by God for my enjoyment, and I'm going to go out and enjoy it, etc. The blind, here it doesn't mean literally those who are blind, but it means those who don't see the truth. The truth is right here in front of us. Brahman, Sakshat Brahman, the Atman, the self. I know that I am the self, but I don't know who I am, even though I should know. I know myself before I know anything, and yet I don't know who I am. This whole universe is Brahman, Brahman who can never be hidden, who is shining, who is self-luminous, swaprakasha, self-luminous, but we don't see it. And so though we are the blind. So we are like those who are concerned only with daily details, never thinking of anything higher. We are like children who have childish ideas about the nature of the world and the nature of who I am and so forth. We're like the blind who don't see the truth which is right in front of us. And we are like fools, those who are dull-witted, those who have no capacity to think, because we don't see the obvious truth that how can I be this body? And yet I have this dull-witted idea, this foolish idea that I am the body. How can I be the body? If I see the body, I feel the body, it's an object of my perception. How can I be that? I go to sleep and the body disappears. Even in the dream state, this body disappears. So if I am the body, how can I be in the dream state and yet not perceive the body? If I am the body in the dream state, this body must be there in my consciousness. But no, I have no awareness of the body. And in deep sleep, even the dream body disappears. And yet I am. So how can I be the body? And yet we're so dull-witted that we think I am the body. So that's what he means, that we take the body, the prana, the sense organs, the mind, and the void experienced in deep sleep. We take all of these to be me. I slept so well, I didn't know anything. So that's taking the void as me. So we identify with these things like these people who are concerned just with daily details, who are childish in their thinking, who are blind to the truth in front of them, and who are so dull-witted that they believe these various superstitions that we have in the mind. So thus deluded like these people and arguing firmly that this is me, I am the body, I am the mind, etc. So he who removes all of the terrible misconceptions created by the deluding play of Maya, he who removes this delusion, that is Sri Guru Murtaye, Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. That is the Guru, that is the Dakshinamurti Shiva. The divine Shiva who comes as the Guru and awakens our intelligence. So this fifth verse deals with the nature of the Guru. The Guru is the one who awakens us from the illusion of the illusions that we suffer from. And the main illusion, which is the identity with objectivity. That I am this body and mind. The one who removes that and says, no, Tattvamasi, thou art that infinite awareness, and you have only become identified through ignorance with this individual being. So again, this is the work of the Guru. And then verse 6 we come to now. Verse 6 deals with the nature of deep sleep, which I've already mentioned. And so it says, Rahu grastad diva karendu sadrisho maya samachadanat sanmatra karanopasamharanato yo bhutsasup Puman Pragaswapsamiti Prabodha Samaye Ya Pratyabhignayate Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this, some of you, the old belief in India that an eclipse was caused by the demon Rahu coming and swallowing the sun or the moon, depending on whether it was a solar or a lunar eclipse. But the Rahu would swallow them. And so it begins by Rahu grasta divakarendu sadrisho, like the sun and the moon being swallowed by Rahu. Maya samacharanat sanmatra karanopa samharato yo abhut sushupta puman. So the person who is in deep sleep with the sense organs withdrawn. That is, in deep sleep, there's no thought. The mind has been withdrawn. The sense organs have been withdrawn. You don't see anything. You don't hear anything. You don't smell anything. You don't taste anything. There are no thoughts. That's why we have no memory when we come back from deep sleep, except, I didn't know anything. That was wonderful, wonderful. So the experience of bliss and the experience of not knowing anything. That is, Vedanta says, a positive experience. The positive experience that I didn't know anything. I knew nothing. So I knew, but what did I know? I knew nothing. So it's a positive experience. So the person who, at the time of sleep, when the senses are withdrawn, and sanmatra, there's only existence itself. Existence, which is consciousness, but there's no thinking because it has been covered by Maya, just as Rahu swallows the sun and the moon at the time of an eclipse. And then praga swapsamiti prabodhamasamaye ya pratyabhignayate. And that one who, at the time of awaking from deep sleep, knows that I was asleep, aswapsam, I slept. So the one who, on the time of waking, says, I know, that is Shiva Dakshinamurti. So again, it's referring to the individual, but that individual self, the Atman, which each of us is identified with Shiva. So when I wake up from deep sleep and say, I didn't know anything, it was wonderful, then that recognition, pratyabhignya, that recognition is the recognition of Shiva, the self, that even in that state where there was no mind, there were no sense organs, there was no thinking, no perception of any kind, even there I exist. Even there I am. Sanmatra, sat matra, nothing but existence, which is awareness. So giving the running translation, but again, the running translations here are not ideal, but I'll use them. On folding up all the functions of the senses, or actually it's on withdrawing all of the functions of the senses, he who enters into a state of deep sleep, and there becomes existence veiled in Maya, Sanmatra, like the sun or the moon during eclipse, who are swallowed by Rahu, and who on waking remembers to have slept. To him, to that divine teacher, to Dakshinamurti, this salutation is offered. So again, in Vedanta, from the time of the Upanishads, deep sleep has been of great interest to the Vedantic sages, because it's said that deep sleep reveals profound truths about ourselves. In fact, in Vedanta, it was considered that in order to understand reality, in order to have a comprehensive philosophy, and every philosophy seeks to be comprehensive. That is, a philosophy which only explains a little bit of existence is not much of a philosophy. A philosophy seeks to explain experience, that which is. And so to be a comprehensive philosophy, Vedanta said, one must consider the different states of consciousness. In the West, it was considered that dreams are illusory. They disappear when we wake up, so they're just illusions. So why consider them philosophically? And deep sleep, that's just, you're just unconscious. So what does that have to do with reality? But Vedanta was much wiser than that and realized that no, those states, the fact that we go from waking to dream to deep sleep and back and forth between these three states shows profound things about our nature. For one thing, the fact that I can go to sleep and forget this whole universe shows, and then wake up and the universe appears again, shows that this universe is dependent on awareness for its existence. Now you may say that, well, when you're asleep, the rest of us are seeing it. Well, yes, that's okay. You see it. But for me, I am able daily to deny the universe in its entirety. The whole universe disappears. If this universe were real, how could it disappear? It couldn't disappear. It's when the mind is in a certain state, I see this. The mind goes in a different state, I see a dream. The mind goes into a different state, I see nothing except for just the absence of all thought and objects. And then again, this universe comes in, the mind in a different state, this universe comes into being. And at the time of death, all of this disappears and another vision is shown to me. I don't go anywhere. All of this is unfolding in front of my awareness. And so the fact that I can go to sleep shows that this universe is a relative universe and that I am not intrinsically tied to the universe. Not intrinsically tied to the universe. That I perceive the universe and then the universe of perception disappears. Then the fact that I can go into deep sleep where the body and the mind and all of my thoughts, all of my memories disappear completely. There's no perception, there's no emoting, no feeling, there's no willing. There's just the perception of the absence of all of that. Just a perception, in another way of saying it, of primordial ignorance, the cloud of unknowing, the cloud of ignorance. The fact that I can go into that state and still I exist. On waking, I say, aswapsam, I was asleep. I was asleep. I was asleep. So the important fact is I was. A moment ago I was asleep, now I'm awake, but I was in both of them. And so I'm not tied to the body or to the mind. My existence is not consumed by the body or the mind. When the body appears, I function through the body. When the body and mind disappear, I'm left in this cloud of unknowing. But if I can attain to enlightenment, if I can attain to samadhi, then there's no unknowing, no cloud of unknowing. I've pierced that, and then I know the reality of the self. I know God. I know my oneness with God. And that is the end of misery, the end of delusion, the end of all suffering. So that's what we seek. But this verse again deals with the nature of deep sleep. And so then we come to verse 7. And verse 7 talks about the guru who reveals himself, and I'm sorry for himself, reveals himself, herself, the guru who reveals himself as the self of the disciple. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the guru is Satchidananda itself. The guru is the divine itself. The guru is the self. And so the task of the human guru is to help the disciple come to the point where eventually the disciple can realize that the guru is here, that there was no separation between guru and disciple ever, that the self, that which I really am, that is also what the guru is, and so there's no distinction between guru and disciple. So this verse says, Balyadishwapi jagradadishu tatha sarvasvavasthaswapi vyavrittasvanuvartamana mahamityantaspurantam sada swatmanam prakati karoti bhajatam yo mudraya bhadraya tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye. So this says that in all stages of life, boyhood, youth, adulthood, old age, etc. So in all stages of life, also in all the states of consciousness, in the waking, dream, and deep sleep state, and in all conditions. So at all ages of development, in all states of consciousness, and in all conditions, the I persists. The I persists. That which I am. In the waking state, I know I am. In the dream state, I am. I have a different body. I have different experiences. The laws of physics are changed in the dream state. The laws of physiology are changed. Sometimes we find that we can breathe underwater. I used to have that dream when I was a little kid, that I could breathe underwater, and I couldn't figure out why it didn't work in the waking state. Luckily, I didn't try too hard to find out, but the laws of physics and physiology, everything changed. And yet, I am. And in deep sleep, I wake up from deep sleep. In deep sleep, I don't think anything. But when I wake up, I say aswapsam. I slept. That is, I was asleep. I didn't know anything, meaning I knew nothing. I knew the absence of everything objective, except for ignorance itself, which was covering consciousness. And so he who in all the stages like boyhood, etc., in all the states of consciousness, in all conditions, the I persists, illuminating, and his own self reveals reveals his own self, and he reveals to his devotees through the auspicious sign of knowledge. So let me read the running translation, because this is a complex verse. The beginning of it is simple, and then the relationship between the parts of it are complex. So it's hard to go word by word and explain each one, because this word refers to something back there. So he who, through the auspicious sign of knowledge, the Jnana Mudra, which again Dakshinamurti is shown as having the Jnana Mudra. Sometimes Dakshinamurti has two hands, a very human form, sometimes four hands, but he's always shown with the Jnana Mudra. So he who, through the auspicious sign of knowledge, the Jnana Mudra, reveals to his devotees his own self, which persists in all stages of age, in all states of consciousness, and in all conditions whatsoever, and who constantly manifests himself inwardly as I. To him, to the divine teacher, to Sri Dakshinamurti, this prostration. So again, this is a beautiful verse, because the I persists in all conditions. And the sense I am, my awareness of self-existence, that is the only thing in my experience that endures all of the time. Everything else changes. This body changes, and it disappears in sleep and deep sleep. These senses change. Now I don't see the way that I could years ago when my eyes were younger and I could see very well. Hearing is going. Everything is changing. The mind is always changing. The world around me is changing. Everything is constantly changing. And then sometimes this whole universe disappears when I go to sleep. And then I see a dream world. And then that dream world disappears and I go into deep sleep. And I'm aware only of ignorance itself. The fact that I don't know anything. That's all that I'm aware of. But even there, I am. And I know that I am. And so that I am, which is self-reflective. What does it mean to say that I am and I know that I am? It means that the I am is self-luminous. It illuminates its own existence. The fact that I am and I know that I am shows that I am self-luminous. I don't have to ask somebody else, do I exist? I don't have to ask that. I know I am self-luminous. So that is what persists in all states of consciousness, and which is realized in its fullness only in the highest state of spiritual development, when we go beyond all that is transitory. And so that is revealed by Shiva, Dakshinamurti, and that is what I am. So he who reveals to his devotees, bhajatam, to his devotees, through the Jnana Mudra, reveals that I am. My sense of I, the individual sense of I, is really joined to the cosmic sense of I. Then we come to verse 8. Which says, verse 8 deals with the jiva having divided itself, because the jiva, that which I am as an individual, is neither male nor female. It manifests in a male or female body, but I am not male or female. And so divides itself in ways that are going to be explained here. Vishwam pashyati karya karanataya swaswami sambandhataha shishyacharyataya tathaiva pitriputradhyatmana bhedataha swapne jagrati vaya esha purusho maya paribhramita tasmai shri guru murtaye namaidam shri Dakshinamurtaye. So Vishwam pashyati karya karanataya swaswami sambandhataha shishya, etc. So one sees, or he who sees this world, dividing things into cause and effect, karya karana, who sees this universe divided into cause and effect. One thing causes another thing. Everything that we experience as being the effect of some cause, and perhaps becoming the cause of some future effect. Everything in the universe that we perceive, we can't understand anything. In fact, understanding means seeing the causal connection between things. And so the mind is not only conditioned by time and space. We can't think. We can't understand except in terms of time and in terms of space, and also in terms of causation, that one thing causing another. So trying to understand something means trying to understand causal relationships, the causal relationships which make up a thing or which relate a thing to other things, etc., or which explain how it becomes something else in time. So the one who sees this world in terms of cause and effect, who sees it in terms of Swami Sambandhataha, which means the possession, swa, this is my own, this is swa, my own, and Swami. Swami, of course, means master. The root meaning of Swami means master. In the case of a Swami, a person who has taken sannyasa, it doesn't mean master of other people. It means ideally one who is master of one's own mind and senses. And so we also divide this universe into that which is possessed and the possessor, Swaswami, the possessed and possessor. So we understand it in terms of cause and effect. We understand it in terms of possessed and possessor, in terms of Shishyacharyataya, in terms of teacher and disciple, and Pitriputra, in terms of father and son, which of course means includes mother and son also. So we see the self divided into cause and effect, into father and son, into teacher and disciple, possessor and possession. But that's the self itself, which has been divided into these related pairs, this relationship between cause and effect, between father and son or mother and son, between possessor and possessions, etc. All of these are the self itself which has been divided into these things. This in both the dream and in the waking state. We see this, both in the dream and the waking state. We're aware of cause and effect, of possession, possessed and possessor, etc. He who thus, this self, who is world in Maya, with this dividing of the self into these different relationships, to that one who is world in Maya, that is Shiva. Meaning, again, he's talking here of the individual, that I am world in Maya because I'm deluded. I'm not yet enlightened. And so, but that which within me is that which is being, which all of this is whirling around, that is Dakshinamurti, that is Shiva. So you, the individual, are Shiva, but you've forgotten it, and you're being whirled in this Maya, dividing yourself into inside and outside, cause and effect, perceiver and perceived. You know, the exercise taught in the Vedantic text, Drisya Viveka, one of the texts that Swami Sarvapriyananda often teaches, a beautiful text on discriminating between the seer, the perceiver, and the perceived, the object perceived. And so in that, we're to think that I am consciousness itself. I see the body, so I can't be the body. I see the world, I can't be the body. I'm the perceiver of the world, I'm the perceiver of the body. I'm the perceiver of the mind, not the mind, but the perceiver of it. And then that way I get a sense of myself as consciousness, as the experiencing consciousness, but not that which is experienced. But then at the end of that process, after I've gotten a firm hold of the nature of consciousness, I have to come back, because Vedanta teaches that there's a unity behind that. That which I rejected as not me, not me, not me, that comes back as me, that I have divided myself into the perceiver and the perceived. Where do I perceive the perceived? I perceive it within myself, because this is all a form of myself. The whole universe is myself taking this form. And so he who is the Purusha, that is the true self, the Atman, world in Maya, sees in himself the world of cause and effect, diversely related as possessor and possession, father and son, teacher and taught, both in the state of waking and of dreaming. To him, the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. So just one more thing on this verse before we go to the next. He says, in the waking and dream, what about deep sleep? Yes, in deep sleep, there is no objective experience. And so there's nothing, no object that we're experiencing. And there's no causation in the deep sleep. There's no father and son in deep sleep. There's no possessor and possessed in deep sleep. So these apply only to the waking state and the dream state. The deep sleep state is a state of deep unitary consciousness, which does us no good except for rest, because we don't know what we're perceiving there. It's a perception of basic ignorance. I don't know. I don't know anything. Without thinking and without using words, just the fact of not knowing anything. And so we don't get advantage of the unitary knowledge which comes with that state. If we enter into samadhi, it's like entering into deep sleep without the cloud of ignorance. The cloud of ignorance is gone, and the full sun of illumination is present. So then we come to, this was 8, so now we come to 9. And verse 9 says, Sarvatmatvamiti sputi kritamidam yasmadamushmin stave tenasya shravanat tadartha mananad dhyanat cha sankirtanat sarvatmatvamaha vibhuti sahitam syadishwaratvam swataha siddhyetat punarashtada parinatam chaishwaryavya Hatam. Oh, I skipped 9. That's why there was something wrong here. 10. I came to 10. So let me come back to 9. Bhurambansya nalo nilombaramahar nato himamshu puman ityabhati characharatmakamidam yasyaiva murtyashtakam nanyat kinjana vidyate vimrishatam yasmat parasmad vibho tasmai shri guru murtaye namaidam shri Dakshinamurti. So here it's talking about the eightfold form of Shiva. Shiva is sometimes said to have Ashtamurtis. And so it says that those eightfold forms are earth, water, fire, air, space. Earth, water, fire, air, space, the 5 elements, each one pertaining to a sense organ. The sun and the moon. Here, very wonderful words for sun and for moon in Sanskrit. And so Aharanatha, the Lord of the day, Aharanatha is the name for the sun, and Himamshu for the moon. So that makes 7. And then Puman, the Jiva, the person. These are the 8-fold forms of Shiva. So Shiva is the Jiva, and this is Shiva in the manifested form as this universe. Shiva appears as the Jiva. Each Jiva is Shiva. That's why Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, that service to the Jiva as Shiva. So Shiva appears as the Jiva. Shiva appears as the sun, which can be the prana, and as the mind, as the moon, which is the mind, and as the 5 elements. So there you have all of creation at the physical and subtle level. The physical creation of the 5 elements, then the prana and the mind, and then the jiva, the element of consciousness. So this 8-fold form of Shiva, he whose 8-fold manifestations ever exist, to those who reflect well, from which the Supreme calls the one of all manifestation. No, it's not going to work that way. So let me just read the running translation. He whose 8-fold forms are the 5 elements, sun, moon, and jiva, and who manifests himself as this universe of the movable and immovable objects, and besides which the Supreme, all-pervading Lord, there exists nothing. To those who reflect well upon this, to them, to the divine teacher, Sri Dakshinamurti, is this prostration. Or to those who reflect well upon Dakshinamurti, the image of the Guru, is this prostration. So it tells Shiva is everything. Shiva is the Jiva, Shiva is the mind, Shiva is the prana, Shiva is the physical universe as well, the material universe as well. And so one who reflects well on this, that Shiva is everything and all pervading, that one offers this salutation to Dakshinamurti. And the 10th, which is the last verse, says, Sarvatmatvamiti sputikritamidam yasmadamushminstave tenasya shravanat tadartha mananad dhyanat cha sankirtanat sarvatmatva vibhuti sahitam syadishwaratvam swataha siddhyetat punarashtadha parinatam jaishwaryam avyahatam. So the knowledge, all this is Atman, Sarvatmatvam. All of this is Atman. The knowledge that all this is Atman has been explained in this hymn. So this hymn, in this last verse, is Arthavada, that is eulogy. It's telling the greatness of the hymn. And this was traditional at the end of a hymn to give a verse of Arthavada, a hymn of eulogy, explaining the greatness of the verse and the utility of repeating it. So the knowledge, all this is Atman, has been explained in this hymn. And so by hearing it, reflecting on it, and meditating upon its meaning, and by reciting it, kirtanat, one will attain that divine state endued with the glory of the all-selfhood, along with the permanent eightfold holy powers of Godhood. So one should hear it, shravanat, one should hear it, and mananat, one should meditate or think about it, and dhyanat, meditate on it. So one who hears about it, thinks about it deeply, meditates upon it, and then kirtanat, and then sings this hymn. Such a one will attain to sarvatmatvam, will attain to the knowledge that all this is himself or herself, along with ishwaratvam, along with lordship. That is, one attains to control of complete control of the mind and body, and the control of the very perception of the universe itself. So one attains to ishwaratvam, godhood. And he says to the ashta siddhis, the 8 powers that come with the attainment of godhood. And so that is the conclusion of the hymn to Dakshinamurti. So again, this is an extraordinary hymn, one that is very beautiful, deep philosophical meaning. And it can be read and recited as a devotional hymn to Shiva. But again, one of the beauties of it is, because it is an Advaitic hymn written by Shankaracharya, or at least the tradition says it was written by Adi Shankaracharya, the original Shankaracharya. It plays between the divine and the individual, that is, between Shiva and the Atman, your own Atman. Because in Vedanta, the goal is to know myself as Shiva. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. And so whether you offer it as devotion to Shiva, who has all of this nature, or if you meditate on it as the truth of my own self, both are good, both are legitimate. And so it's a highly regarded hymn, considered the most philosophical of the hymns of Shankaracharya. Of course, his commentaries are otherwise, and they are all philosophy. And his other works, his books, Prakarana Granthas, like Viveka Chudamani, Upadesha Sahasri, etc., the Crestjewel of Discrimination and the 1,000 instructions, those are, of course, philosophical. But among his hymns, things, this is considered to contain the most deep philosophy, which, as the last verse says, also written by Shankaracharya, should be heard, should be thought about deeply, and should be meditated upon. So with that, I will close this talk on the Dakshinamurti Stotra. So now let me give announcements, and if there are any questions, I will answer those after the announcements. The classes and lectures will continue. On Tuesday at 7:30, we'll have the Gita class online like this. On Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning, we'll live stream the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna class on YouTube. And next Sunday, I will speak about Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. The origin and development of the idea and devotion to Saraswati. She who started as a river and became a river goddess, like the Ganga also is worshipped as a goddess. So it started as the Saraswati River, and then the Saraswati river was endowed with wonderful qualities of purification and nurturing and so forth, and then eventually was recognized as a goddess, and then Saraswati remained even after the Saraswati River dried up. So that will be next Sunday. Let me say a word about a program we had last night, in which I had announced, and that is the program for the Pratyasha We Shall Prevail, program of classical music and dance for raising money for the Amphan relief work being done by the Ramakrishna Mission in Bengal. I'm sorry for confusion because the URL, the internet address, was changed and I didn't know it. I myself had to search for it last night. I clicked on the link that we had given out, and which had worked the night before for the preview. But this time I clicked and nothing happened, and it was time for it to start. So then I did a search on Pratyasha We Shall Prevail on YouTube, and I found the proper link. But for those of you who didn't know what to search for, if you didn't know Pratyasha We Shall Prevail, if you didn't know that, then you wouldn't have anything to search for. And so I'm very sorry that it caused confusion to a number of people. And many people who would have watched didn't watch, I know, because people communicated with me. So I apologize for that. I myself didn't know about the change of internet address. So, last announcement, the Seva International, as you know, we are participating with them in collecting foodstuffs according to a particular list, only to bring the things that they have specified we're to bring, and in donating funds. And so that will be coming to a close soon. We just sent a large check to them from the many donations that you have sent to us in the name of Seva International. We just sent a large check to them this past week, and if we get more donations, we'll send that on to them also. But this will be coming to a close soon. So if you still want to donate food items, please bring them here to the center. And if you want to send money to Seva International for the food drive, for feeding hungry people here in Houston, then send that also, and we will still get it to them. But that will be coming to a close soon. So that's the end of and there are no questions, and so I'll give a closing chant. Om madhuvatartayate madhuksharanti sindhavaha madhvirnasantoshadhihi madhunaktamutoshasi madhumatparthivagum rajaha madhudyarastu nafpita madhumando vanaspatir madhumagum astu suryaha madhvirgavo bhavantu naha. Om madhu, om madhu, om madhu. For us who seek the truth, and for all living beings, may the winds blow sweetly. May the herbs yield us sweetness. May the rivers flow sweetly. Sweet be the night and the break of day. Sweet be the very dust of the earth. May the heavens pour down sweetness upon us. May the trees, lords of the forest, bear us sweetness. May the sun shed its sweetness upon us. May all the directions pour forth sweetness. Om, sweetness, sweetness, sweetness.